1, Seeing Taiwan, Writing Taiwan. Lecture 1, Yu Yonghe's Taiwan Travel Diaries. Having experienced the Age of Discovery, as the Western world calls it, in 16th and 17th century, Taiwan was annexed by Qing Empire in late 17th century. We now have volumes of officially compiled records by the Qing government that help us understand the geography, history, and human activities of Taiwan under Qing's rule. Such officially compiled records include Taiwan Prefecture Gazetteer, published in 1686 under the supervision of Chiang Yuying, and another work under the same title, supervised by Kao Kungchien, that came out in 1696. Aside from these documents, there's a special book that can help us understand the social circumstances of 17th century Taiwan. That is Small Sea Travel Diaries, Yu Yonghe's Records of Taiwan. It was a collection of Yu Yonghe's travel diaries. Yu used literary narrative strategies to record his impressions of 17th century Taiwan. In this lecture, we're going to explore the society of 17th century Taiwan by reading Yu's diaries closely. First thing first, why did Yu Yonghe come to Taiwan? According to his own accounts in the book, he came for sulfur. There was a sulfur deficiency in mainland China because one of the gunpowder storehouses in Fuzhou caught on fire and exploded. Yu was therefore sent to collect sulfur in northern Taiwan. His mission at length was to procure sulfur and bring it back to the mainland for the making of gunpowder. But how did he travel from Fuzhou to Taiwan under the traffic conditions during his time? Based on his own diaries, he began his travel at Fuzhou on January 24, 1697, and returned on October 12 the same year, both in Chinese lunar calendar. His itinerary went like this. He took a road trip through Putian and Quanzhou and then arrived at Xiamen. He then took a ship to Penghu and to Tainan, where he finally landed. For his return, he set off from Danshui and took a ship to Min River Estuary, and then took a road trip back to Fuzhou. It was Yu's first time across the strait. Rumor had it that crossing the strait was extremely perilous. Let's take a look at what actually happened to Yu during his passage. We learn from his diaries that he sailed from Xiamen and went past Dagan Island and Liaoluowan and then entered the Taiwan Strait. Back at the time, all those who tried to get across the strait had to go over the notoriously dangerous Pescadores Channel, or Black Ditch as people called it, right before reaching Penghu. The Black Ditch was dangerous because there were strong flows of ocean current that went from north to south. The current ran so deep under the sea surface that its actual threat was immeasurable. Given the fact that ships relied on wind and human force only, it was very risky to sail across Black Ditch because you might get struck by a floe and deviate from your path and get lost. If you were lucky enough to go across the Black Ditch, you would see Penghu Archipelago with splendid scenery, sky and ocean divided by a straight green line, as people described it. Fortunately, you passed the Black Ditch and landed on Penghu. It was still one day away for him to get to Tainan City. The harbor of Tainan, or Taijiang Inner Sea, was risky to sail as well. The large area of water within Lu'erman had been suffering from serious siltation, making most parts of the harbor unable to sail at all. There was only one zigzag path navigable in the harbor, so hardly no one dared to enter except a few most experienced veteran sailors. Yu was very much impressed by the precariousness he experienced at entering Taijiang Inner Sea. Yu got on land at around Fort Provincia, as we learned from his words. He had stayed in Tainan for over a month before heading north. During his stay in Tainan, he visited some imperial officials to obtain a grasp of Taiwan's history and social circumstances. He also purchased everything he would need for collecting sulfur, such as cloth, oil, sugar, big cast pots, knives, axes, hoes, dippers, barrels of various sizes, balances, rulers, buckets, and storage tanks. All the officials and friends he met in Tainan had told him that it was very dangerous to go north, so he'd better have someone doing the job for him instead of going north himself. Yu decided to go anyway. He had a group of men shipping equipment for him through the sea route north, while he himself went through the land route. Let's see what happened to Yu next. Setting out from Tainan City, Yu passed by Jiayi, Yunli, Changhua, Taichung, Miaoli, Hsinchu, Taoyuan, and Danshui. He saw Plains indigenous peoples' villages all along the way, as Han Taiwanese people had rarely settled in places north to Tainan. Yu made meticulous records over indigenous people's customs and daily activities. We learned from his words that people in the Shisha tribes who were located close to Tainan were all hardworking farmers and knew how to save money for future use. As a result, everyone in these tribes led a rich life. And because they lived so close to Tainan, city etiquette like giving precedence to others was followed in these tribes, making their customs better than many other tribes in the eyes of Yu. When Yu reached Jiayi, however, he saw customs very much different from those of his own society. He had some indigenous children help him move his carts, and all those kids had tattoos all over their bodies. The images included birds' wings, fishing nets, decorative beads, human heads, and so forth. They also wore tens of iron bracelets on their wrists and had their ear helixes stretched out. The indigenous people he saw in Changhua had even more tattoos on their bodies, with their ear helixes stretched even larger. Young women there hardly had their bodies covered and were comfortable being naked. Crossing Dajia River, he reached Miaoli. Indigenous peoples there had leopard print tattoos on their chests and backs, which he had not seen before. Apparently, Plains indigenous peoples in Jiayi, Changhua, and Miaoli were commonly tattooed and used to being naked. Their appearances went far beyond Yu's aesthetic and moral stances, to a point where he said they were ugly and scary. Yu's reaction has shown to us, more or less, his fear of alien cultures. When he reached northern Hsinchu and Taoyuan, Yu wrote down a record as follows: I haven't seen a single man or house between Hsinchu and Nankan of Taoyuan. I can't even find a tree to rest under. Instead, what he saw along the way were young and adult deers in groups. In Nankan, there were even more deers running around in heavy throngs. In Yu's eyes, this place really needed to be opened up. As to the weather, because he set out from Tainan in the beginning of East Asian rainy season, which was lunar April, it started to rain heavily as soon as he began heading north. He got stranded in the Taichung area for almost 10 days because of heavy rain. Meanwhile, his men who were supposed to take the sea route had no choice but to go on land after a strong wave had wrecked their ship. The two groups of men met at Holong and continued their trip north together. It took them 25 days in sum to arrive at Danshui, an inner Beito tribe. They stayed in Beito for 5 months. Apart from sulfur collecting mechanics, most workers were local indigenous people hired with cloth, sugar, and other daily necessities. Although the trip was tough for Yu, the mission was complete after all. Through his travels, Yu formed new knowledge and changed his opinions on Taiwan. He'd obtained a substantive understanding of Taiwan's history, geography, climate, environment, and ethnic groups. Having arrived in early spring and left in early winter, he experienced a full spring, a full summer, and a full autumn in Taiwan. In addition to that, having traveled from south to north, he observed that the development stages between northern and southern Taiwan was of huge difference. He wrote down his comments on Taiwan's history, politics, and natural resources in his book. He also wrote down his advice on ruling Taiwan to the Qing Empire. He regarded Taiwan as a crucial fort against enemies. To recite his words, Taiwan has dangerous mountains and rivers, making it a fort difficult to conquer. He also pointed out that Danshui and Min'an town in Fuzhou stood right across the strait, making Danshui an important place easy to protect and hard to attack. It could, according to Yu, also serve as a very fine port. He worried that Qing Empire didn't put enough emphasis on northern Taiwan, while overinvesting in the defense of Luerman and the Fort Zeelandia in southern Taiwan. Apart from these, he also gave advice on tax collection, soldiers' pay, the deployment of troops on the coast, and policy on indigenous peoples. His conclusion was that it would be wrong for the Qing Empire to discard Taiwan. Apparently, to Yu's mind, the empire didn't take Taiwan seriously enough in its early stage of ruling the island. By this point, we can say that Yu Yonghe's travel diaries include not only exotic geographic descriptions, but also his opinions and comments on Taiwan's history and present facts from his perspective as a superior officer. By reading Yu's diaries, we can see Taiwanese ancestors' daily lives as if they were in front of us, especially when we read them in complement with Taiwan Aboriginal map.